Now, Benjamin Anthony, CEO and co-founder of the MirYam Institute. Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony, for joining us. Is it a paradox, though, if there was a deal to see all of the Israeli hostage out, then the premier himself and his cabinet might be in favor, but this is not the case. So the mere question might be misleading.
Yeah, I think that it's a little bit of a hypothetical question. What people need to understand is that Israel has an interlocutor. It's called Hamas. It's a terror organization. And there is absolutely no logical reason to assume that Hamas is minded to release the very thing that ensures its own existence and its own survival, namely the retention of some of our hostages. And so one can ask anybody any question in any theoretical space, but whether or not it translates into reality is quite different. It is worth mentioning that Minister Ron Dermer, the Minister for Strategic Affairs and the closest confidant to Prime Minister Netanyahu, seems to have expressed that Israel is not opposed to some sort of a partial deal or a phased deal that might see the release of 10 of the living hostages. And that flies in the face of what Prime Minister Netanyahu has been saying to this point, namely that Israel is no longer interested in a phased deal. He wants all of the hostages out in one go, both the living and those who are no longer alive. And I believe that that's actually the correct position, because there are no more unique humanitarian cases. All of them need to be released back to Israel.
So theoretical questions aside, and now to perhaps real concerns, if you will, doubts over the ability, this operation, to actually reach its goal. It's not us saying that, it's the chief of staff himself suggesting military action will not create better diplomatic conditions.
Well, look, again, people need to go back to first principles. There are two goals that have been put on the table, very clearly stated. They don't mix well. Some would say that they mix about as well as oil and water, but they are yet there. And those are the return of all of our hostages, the living and those no longer alive, and the complete distraction of Hamas as a terror army to the point where it is no longer able to pose a threat to the people of Israel at any point in the future. Now, at this current stage of the war, a war that was thrust upon us as a result of October the 7th, neither one of those goals has actually come to reality. But with a focus on the second goal, the destruction of Hamas, this is where, to your question about the diplomatic outcomes of this operation, this is where I think it's important people realize that there is a very clear vision that is being spoken about and has been spoken about the relocation of the Gazans outside the Gaza Strip.
Right.
In my opinion, that is the only way to prevent Hamas from forming up. That plan should be implemented. It should be chased down and promoted by the Prime Minister. It should be actioned, and moving the Gazans from Gaza City southward, I believe, will actually place greater diplomatic pressure on the Egyptians to do that which they ought to have done, open their borders and absorb the Gazans into their midst.
Yeah, really briefly, Mr. Anthony, if you will, we've been drawing comparisons from Vietnam in the sense of, sinking in mud. But is Gaza becoming Israel's Vietnam in the sense of public disapproval?
No, in Israel, unfortunately, because of our military history, we don't need to look to forays overseas or make comparisons. We've had the troubles in southern Lebanon. We've had the ongoing on-off conflict inside Judea and Samaria.
Right.
All of these are places where Israel has to maintain security control. The Gaza Strip is no different. But if you want to reduce us from having the chance and the need for us to have a permanent military presence inside the Gaza Strip, the way to do that is to grant relocation to the Gazans out of the conditions in which they find themselves and have them absorbed by these countries, incidentally, who champion the cause of the Palestinian Arabs everywhere.
Conflicts of our own. We don't need
absolutely.
to talk about others. Mr. Benjamin Anthony, always a pleasure. Thank you very much, sir, for your time and for your insight. We appreciate it. Thank you.